It is a 2017 film directed by Andy Muschietti, an adaptation of Stephen King's novel of the same name. An American writer and screenwriter, he is considered one of the most celebrated authors of fantastic literature, particularly horror, of the 20th and 21st centuries. Over the course of his career, he has published more than 80 works, including under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, often entering the bestseller list and selling more than 500 million copies. Many of his stories have been adapted for film or television, as in the case of The Dark and Creepy It. The film is not to be seen as a remake of the TV miniseries It, based on the same novel, but as a new reinterpretation of the story. It was followed by It, Chapter 2, in 2019. Let us now delve into the fog that invades the story of a group of boys put at risk by a dark and evil creature. They remain. On a rainy day in 1988, Bill Denbrough, a stuttering boy, gives Georgie, his younger brother, a paper boat. The child leaves home alone, as Bill is ill, and decides to sail the little boat along the streets of their neighborhood, but at one point it falls into a sewer drain. While attempting to retrieve it, Georgie sees a clown, who introduces himself to him as Pennywise, the dancing clown, emerge from the drain. Smiling and cheerful, the mysterious entity invites the child to approach him with a proposal to return the boat, then bites his arm off and drags him with it into the sewers. It is from here that the nightmare begins, from which 7 boys will try to wake up at all costs. The following year, in 1989, on the last day before the school holidays, Bill thinks that his brother's body may have ended up in a swampy part of town called Barren, and convinces his friends, the exuberant Richie Tozier, the hypochondriac Ed Kansbrack, and the shy Stan Uris to go and see, certain that Georgie may still be alive. There they meet Ben Anscombe, an overweight, reading-loving boy. The boys immediately befriend him, and so the group expands, even with the addition of Beverly Marsh, a girl bullied by everyone for false rumors about her promiscuity, and Mike Allen, an orphaned African-American boy. However, they soon discover that they have something in common. Everyone, except Richie, has seen the horrifying Pennywise in a different and terrifying form. The group of friends, now calling themselves the Losers Club, then realize that they have been attacked by the same entity, which they call It. Through some information found by Ben, they realize that It returns every 27 years for one purpose: to feed on the local children before hibernating again. After a long search, the group find its hideout in the city sewers and attack the monster, severely wounding it. It, knowing he no longer has any power, escapes into the deepest part of the sewers with its body now completely disintegrated. The boys are finally free, and Derry is safe, or at least for now. The story, in fact, does not end there. It is not satiated and does not forget the past. A month later, Beverly informs the group that she had a vision in which she saw the Losers Club as adults fighting Pennywise again. The losers thus make a blood pact. If in 27 years It has returned, they too will return to Derry to finish it off once and for all. And indeed they did. In the second chapter of it, 27 years later, in 1985, librarian Mike Allen summons the group back to face the new wave of murders caused by the evil monster, who has awakened to take his toll in blood death. Will the boys, now adults, be able to put an end to the darkness that has long surrounded the town of Derry? The film was an extraordinary success, mainly because it managed to capture the atmosphere and spirit behind Stephen King's novel, honoring it but at the same time creating an original work. Although not many reading the book, there are several differences from the film, some of them mysterious and at the same time distressing. The first major difference between the film and the novel is certainly the time period in which they are set. In King's book, the Losers Club first faces off against it in the summer of 1958, while in Muschietti's film everything takes place in 1988. This leap forward, moreover, would place the second film chapter in 2015, while in the literary work, the losers were reunited with Pennywise in 1985, once they had become adults. The setting at the turn of the 50s and 60s is not a random choice. It is crucial for King because it is the period in which he grew up. Another substantial difference concerns the monsters whose guise it takes. One of the most iconic features of it, in both the book and Muschietti's film, is in fact that it takes the form of its victims' deepest fears in order to feed on their terror. In the novel, its incarnations are multiple and are closely linked to 50s popular culture. The werewolf, the black-legged monster, the mummy, and Frankenstein's monster walk the streets of Derry terrorizing children. Of these, special mention must go to the lycanthrope, straight out of the 1957 film I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and the mummy, forms that it takes to manifest himself to members of the Losers Club and who appear only fleetingly in two scenes of the film. The characters also change in the film compared to the book. One example is Mike, who has less space. Unlike in the film, where it is Ben who takes on the role of Derry's historian, it is Mike who in the novel is responsible for tracing its presence in the town's past. Another big and important difference must not be overlooked. It concerns a simple object, which however in the book seems to be a real character, almost another member of the group of losers. Silver, Bill's enormous bicycle. A very important element in King's book and a symbol of the courage as well as the strength of its owner, Silver appears only a few times in the film. A final obscure difference concerns a scene that literally scandalized readers of King's novel. It takes place in the sewers after the losers defeat it for the first time. The 7 boys walk through the sewers looking for the exit, but soon realize they are lost. In order to be reunited physically and mentally and thus able to get out of the sewers, Beverly undresses and offers herself sexually to the group. Although delicately written and extremely metaphorical, Muschietti did not want to include this scene in the film, which perhaps represents the transition from childhood to adult life. In fact, he stated in an interview that for him this scene was not necessary for the plot, and that it can be likened to the blood-pact scene in which the losers find themselves united again as a group. In any case, Muschetti's interpretation of it succeeds in expressing those values that the brother King wanted to convey through his novel: friendship, courage, and strength that memories, whether pleasant or not, transmit to us. Every change in life can take us to another city with other people, with new habits. But what we are inside, what we have experienced, and with whom will never change.